And were you doing this formally or just?
No,
this was
informally.
Just reading?
Informally.
You were the
from the library.
proving that the
one
library
would,
is the greatest educational
I
institution.
don't think there's any question about it. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Most people that I've
right.
consider best educated
Tell
sort
that
of
to the
agree.
budget, the budget hearings.
I don't think there's any question about this. I think this is very true. And of course, I had, by this point in time, I fully understood the different forms of management, autocratic, parental,
Right.
participative, and all these forms, and I understood the system that I was in.
Right.
And of course, I certainly very cleverly kept my own feelings in tow because it would have gained me nothing, it would have hurt me. And I had already made up my mind that I was going to beat this system one way or the other. I was going to get at the top, and then I was going to change the system. And so this was really my game plan. This was my hidden agenda all of this time.
Great.
And,
When was the department integrated?
the department was integrated 1948.
Was it token or was there?
Well, no, you say integrated. We hired the first black officers in 1948.
How many do you know?
Yes, there was about a dozen. I was running what was then called Car 1, which had the Beale Street area, and the first black officers that were hired, and it's real funny. I got a real charge out of this, but I couldn't say anything at the time. They wouldn't let them wear white shirts in the wintertime. They had to wear blue shirts as a distinction.
Oh, you mean the white officers were wearing white shirts?
Yeah, and the black officers had to wear
In
blue
case
shirts.
someone couldn't tell that one was white, one was...
No, it was just a distinction that they drew because of the attitude, I guess, of the populace at that point
Why
in
did
time.
they hire black officers at all at that point?
It came about primarily as a result of one patrolman killing a young black youth, and there was some outpouring and outcry in the city. And at that point in time, let's see, Mr. Crump was still having this. He kept liaison with the black community, with Lieutenant Lee, and the insurance people. What's their names? Gosh.
Maceo Walker?
Well, Maceo Walker, yeah, and these people. And they
Carlos
hired.
Price.
This was a token hiring. They were not integrated at all.
Did they
Let's
not
keep
ride
this-
the squad car with the white?
No. They were only walked on Beale Street. They were not even in
They
squad
didn't even get
cars.
cars?
No, they
Yeah,
didn't even
yeah.
have cars.
Yeah.
And their police power was almost restricted to the black
Oh, was it?
community. This was kind of a
Yeah.
unofficial thing,
Yeah.
but I think they pretty well understood it. And
The salary
they were
was the
very
same,
selective. Yeah, the salaries were the same.
Were
That
they
was about the-
welcomed? Were the black officers welcomed in the black community? Did they?
Yes, they
it really
were.
was in response to
Right.
a demand from.
Right.
The Negro
Yes, they
community.
were welcomed, and then of course there were some misgivings later on, and because this is one of the misnomers that people think you can hire a group of black officers, put them in a black neighborhood, and everything's rosy, but
Yeah.
this is not true because you find officers with black officers with bad attitudes just like you do white. In fact, of course they were not trained to any degree, and
Like the
the
rest
black
of
community, they couldn't really provide the police service that the black community needed, and so there was a period of time there when the black community would call and say, don't send one of those nigger officers down there, send me a white officer, he don't know what he's doing, this type thing. And this was primarily because they were not trained, and the selection of them was not the best. Well, the selection of the white officers was not too good either.
Well, now, did the number of Negroes then gradually increase, or did it hold?
They gradually increased over a period of time, and they got to put on the white shirts, and all of these things just came, as time went on. But it was not until there was not full integration of the police cars until I became chief. This was a very selective thing. This was there was not integration, in other words, a white and black officer. There was just one or two of these that occurred in 67 or 68. 68, I believe, was the first one, because I remember a conversation. We had anticipated problems. The training, the best thinking of the police officials at that time was the formation training of police officers to contend with mass demonstrations and things.
When is this? When are you?
This is in 68.
Well, now what about earlier on, though, in like 60, when the sit-ins were all over the South and that kind of thing?
We didn't have integration of...
But I mean, the police department wasn't even
we
preparing
had
in case...
black officers, but they would run together in our territories.
Uh-huh.
They would not... I'm assuming you're talking about integration of white and a black officer in a
Yeah,
squad car.
I was also asking about possible riot control and that kind of thing, preparation for riot.
Well, this was the conversation that I remember, and this is when we did move into it a little bit more, and it was not until after January 1st, 68 that we integrated black and white officers in the same unit. And it came about, I remember the conversation, I had a group of officers out at the Army Training Center, and they were going through their formation trainings,
Mm-hmm.
you know. You've seen these on TV. So we put a half a group over at a fire tower, and they were the demonstrators, and these people were going to wedge them away from that wall with a wedge-type formation. So the group over to the fire station consisted of black and white officers, and well, both groups did at that time. So the black and white officers over the fire tower laid down and locked arms and just had a ball, you know.